much. Your Excellency, the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Economy, the Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry, my colleagues from the Office of the Vice President, our members, our guests from the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished leaders of industry, and officials of the American Business Association. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this one-day roundtable. On behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you, and thank you for accepting the invitation of the Office of the Vice President to attend today's event. This roundtable is co-organized with the American Business Council and is part of a series of engagements that the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration is having with the organized private sector to cross-pollinate ideas and identify pain points and bottlenecks that will hamper the resolve of the government to drive the economy and create prosperity for its citizens, utilizing a partnership with the private sector. In this same hall, we held the first of its kind 3-day Manufacturers Summit from the 2nd to the 4th of July, an event that was another collaboration of government and the private sector through the Office of the Vice President with the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Yet again, only yesterday, the President inaugurated the Presidential Economic Coordination Council, a high-level economic think tank comprising relevant ministries, captains of industry, and economists and financial experts to coordinate reforms and make continuous input in government economic policies and programs. Today, we rub minds with yet another set of prestigious leaders from some of the biggest investors in the Nigerian business environment to troubleshoot and engage on regulatory, market, and operational issues with relevant ministries and agencies in a frank and open atmosphere. Some of you have already provided vital input in an earlier survey whose results will form the bedrock of today's interaction. And you can all be assured that we intend to conclude the session with actionable takeaways that will be given the attention that they deserve. Thank you very much once again, and I wish all of us an insightful and productive engagement. Thank you.
Very quickly, we'll now take a summary of the survey report, and this will be presented by the technical advisor to the President on Foreign Direct Investment, President Zara Mustafa Haudu.
This meeting is designed to retain and encourage a scale-up of investments.
Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, Grand Commander of the Niger, the Deputy Chief of Staff, to the President, Senator Ibrahim Hadija, the representative of the Central Bank Governor, the Deputy Governor Economic Policy, Mr. Mohammed Sani Abdullahi, the Deputy Governor of Jigawa State, who I don't think is here yet, the Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Mrs. Doris Uzoka Anite, the representative of the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Executive Secretary of Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission, Mrs. Aisha Rimi, all the heads of MDAs, all the aides to the President duly recognized, the Diplomatic Corps, the delegation from the EU, China, UAE, France, Sweden, Colombia, USA, and Egypt. Our partners, the American Business Council and PricewaterhouseCoopers, the Eurocham delegation, foreign investors, industry leaders, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to this highly anticipated Foreign Direct Investment Roundtable. This is the first of hopefully many more to come. Today we are gathered to discuss issues surrounding the investment climate in Nigeria. These discussions will be centered around ways to retain investors and encourage a scale-up of investment. This meeting is designed to open dialogue between the government and our existing foreign investors, a conversation that must be continuous, realistic, robust, and ultimately impactful. Your views are very important to the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led administration, and as such, a questionnaire was sent out ahead of this meeting. The feedback from the questionnaire is what we use to design everything for this meeting, from the panel, the topics for the panels, the topics for the keynote speakers, and everything else that we would do today. I was going to go through the document which you have in front of you, which is a summary of some of the challenges that our existing foreign investors face, but to not take too much time, because luckily for us today, we have the Vice President here, we have our Minister of Finance and Coordinating Economy, we also have our Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, and I believe they have a lot more to say. I will be dealing with a lot of you one-on-one, so I think it's actually them you need to hear more from today. So I'm going to limit my, rather than going through all the slides, I will just highlight some key topics that we picked out of the questionnaires. So we sent out the questionnaires to over 90 companies, all the major multinationals in the country, of which we got 14% back in terms of responses. This is somewhat poor, but we understand that it's the first time that we're doing this, and maybe you're not sure, you know, where we're going with this. But the idea behind the questionnaires is to understand and see Nigeria from your point of view, not how we think it should be. The questionnaire is self-explanatory, so I'm not going to, the summary is self-explanatory, so I'm not going to waste time going through slide by slide. I'll just go on to say that I'm very pleased to say that in the process of planning this roundtable meetings, we were fortunate enough to meet a company called Avatar. Avatar had come to see President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in June, and after that meeting, initially I think they are currently in Nasarawa State. When we approached them for this roundtable meeting, we explained to them that we're happy they're in Nigeria, but we're hoping that they scale up investment. Many of our investors are located in one state. Luckily for us, they're even in the North Central, but majority of our investors in this room are located in Lagos. Once again, thanks for traveling down, but we are trying to encourage you to scale up. Nigeria is so much bigger than just being invested in Lagos. And this is why we want to have conversations like this. I'm particularly mentioning Avatar because they committed to an investment scale up of about $500 million US, and they're exploring a couple more states, also still within the North Central, but we're excited for that. So at this point, we'll do like a 1-minute clip on them, and then that would probably wrap up the speech, and I hope that everyone has successful deliberations. Thank you.
Now we are going to listen and hear from His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON, the 15th, and of course the current Vice President of Nigeria. He's going to give his keynote address now. Your Excellency, sir.
The Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, the Honorable Minister of Trade and Investment, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy, the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, heads of government agencies and parastatals present here, leaders and members of the creative industry, members of the diplomatic corps, our investors, for whose cause we are gathered here, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The life of every economy is defined by the volume of investments it accommodates and attracts. Investments are the lifeblood that fuel innovation, drive growth, and create opportunities for prosperity. Today, as we gather for this roundtable with our esteemed foreign direct investors, we celebrate not just the capital that flows into our nation, but the confidence, trust, and partnerships that these investments represent. Nigeria has not only been a place of promise, but also consistently an incubator of ideas. This inherent potential must be harnessed by utilizing our abundant resources and strategic position as a gateway to Africa's largest consumer market of 230 million people and projected to be the third most populous nation on earth by 2050. We are a useful nation. The average age of the Nigerian nation is 16.9, which means we have an abundance of creativity, innovation, and fresh ideas waiting to be transformed into tangible economic gains. It is not by chance that the non-oil sector contributed 93.62% to the nation's GDP in the first quarter of 2024. This significant shift from our oil dependency invites us to explore diverse opportunities in sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, renewable energy, and digital innovation. At the risk of sounding repetitive, I want to remind our esteemed guests of a study done by Comperi, a global consultancy firm. While it has been projected that by 2035, there will be 65 million global talent deficit. The United States, Russia, and Brazil will suffer from 6 million talent deficits. Even the talent powerhouse, India, will have only 1 million surplus. Again, I want to re-emphasize that this is a useful nation. Young men who are not afraid of the digital world. So I invite you to take a second look at the Nigerian nations. These sectors not only promise attractive returns, but also align with our national development priorities outlined in the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan and subsequent blueprints. The mechanisms we have adopted for the ease of doing business stimulate investment across critical sectors and strengthen the capacity of our public institutions, ensuring that industry stakeholders are never undermined. We understand that investment is not merely about financial returns, but about building lasting legacies and making enduring contributions to society. Your investments have the power to uplift communities, create sustainable livelihoods, and drive inclusive growth. His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 8-point agenda signals diverse opportunities, avenues for investment, from agriculture to renewable energy. Through targeted incentives and public-private partnerships, we aim to unlock the full potential of these sectors, catalyzing job creation and socio-economic empowerment across the nation. And the beauty of the current dispensation in our country is that in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we have a leader who speaks your language, who has operated in your ecosystem, with whom you can operate on the same wavelength. For the past 25 years of our democratic experiment, we had the fortune of having 2 presidents of military backgrounds. We had 2 presidents of political, academic backgrounds. This is the first time that Nigeria has gotten an economist, an accountant, an accomplished accountant for that matter, and a politician who knows the feelings and aspirations of the people at the helm of affairs of this country. He's my boss, but we need to be fair to him. I have seen the soul of Bola Tinubu. He means well for the nation. He wants to live in a place of glory. He really wants to redefine the meaning and concept of modern leadership. He really wants to transform Nigeria from a nation of potentials to a very great nation. Here is an opportunity for all of you to ask questions, for us to find solutions to your challenges. We have the Minister of Trade, Investment, and Industries. She was my colleague in Zenith Bank. She was the chief treasurer of the largest bank in Nigeria. She knows her onions. And in Mr. Wale Edun, we have a finance minister whom we have a lot of trust in. There is a philosopher, I've forgotten the man, who said, what you are is so loud that you don't have to talk. Was it Anthony Robbins or somebody who said that? This is a man who is living in the same house for the past 40 years. This is a man who is using the same telephone line since 2003. To me, these are telltale signs of how reliable you are. If you consistently change your phones, I will try to treat you with some suspicion. I will mandate the princess, the beautiful princess seated here, to oblige you with my WhatsApp number. Contact me directly. I will divulge to you the numbers of the minister, although he has only one line anyway, so. I have worked with the Minister of Trade and Investment for 20 years in Zenith Bank. Since we met, she's also used the same line. When I wanted to reach her the last time, I called our Zenith number and I got her. So the three of us can bludgeon our way and solve whatever hiccups you might experience. This is why you should invest. In terms of human resources, in terms of the largest consumer market in Africa. I don't begrudge Seychelles, nor the success story of Rwanda or Botswana. I adore them, I applaud them, I celebrate them. But what is the population of Seychelles? It's 1.6 million. What is the population of Botswana? 4.7 million. The population of Rwanda is not bigger than the population of metropolitan Kano, one of the 36 states of the Nigerian Federation. And population counts. Take it or leave it, the market counts. And the president had shown that resolve, the courage to take decisions, because from day one, we're able to hit the ground running. Yes, we are having some challenges. I'm not denying that. But where there is the will, there is always the way. He doesn't believe in apportioning blame. Rather, he believes in finding solutions to problems. From day one, the fuel subsidy was withdrawn. It was a huge albatross hanging around the neck of the Nigerian nation, which previous administrations were reluctant to tamper with. The collapse of the multiple exchange rate system, the opaque exchange rate system, that gave room to the blossoming of a corruption industry of a huge scale, has been addressed. Multiple taxation is being addressed, and the committee is headed by one of Nigeria's best taxation experts, a man of integrity. So we are seamlessly putting in place the groundwork for you to come and invest and make huge returns. I want to urge you to take maximum opportunities of this roundtable. Ask questions. Take the Minister of Finance to task. Here is our Minister of Trade and Investment. These are the key two dramatis personae that are involved in this drive, so that we find solutions to your challenges. In the event you are unable to get a pathway, you can approach me directly. I'm here for you. And with no strings attached to, because the interest of the nation supersedes whatever individual interest we might have. Again, I want to reiterate that the president is a man of ideas and a man with the courage to take far-reaching decisions. He believes in you. He trusts you. And I urge you, I implore on you, I beseech thee to reciprocate that trust and confidence. Thank you, and may God bless us all. And I crave your indulgence to take my leave because I have to be in Kaduna to launch President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's initiative for the resettlement of victims of banditry in the Northwest. This is a practical leader. He approved 51 billion naira, which was released by the Honorable Minister of Finance, and we are going to provide livelihoods, educational facilities, clinics, veterinary clinics for the victims of banditry in the Northwest. And for the purpose of political inclusivity, the president said Shetima, Pig Benue, and Niger states. And we are going to build homes, create opportunities, invest in education, because education is the greatest game changer. Within a generation, the son of a peasant can be a celebrated icon. I am the son of a Quranic scholar. I am a first generation graduate from my family. And as Alexander Pope said, drink deep or touch not the western spring. We are going to provide the best of opportunities. We'll use Cayenne technology to power those schools and see that we break that poverty chain, intergenerational transfer of poverty. This is our soft approach, the non-kinetic response to the problems in the Northwest. Because unless we want to engage in an endless war of attrition, we have to combine the kinetic and the non-kinetic solution to our problems. Because beneath the mayhem of Boko Haram and banditry, underneath the nihilism of kidnapping and banditry lies the real cause, which is extreme poverty. Once we address this issue of extreme poverty and destitution, this madness will evaporate. And this is a young nation. I want to reiterate. Average age, 16.9.
Senator, His Excellency Senator Shetima, GCON, the DCOS, who is probably escorting him as well. I mean, the seats represent the people. The Honorable Minister of Finance and the coordinating ministries, coordinating departments and agencies. All protocols observed before I make the mistakes that people make in this circumstance. So it's a great pleasure to be here and for us to plan this. This is like 1 year plus in terms of our thoughts on how to move forward. 2023, before the elections, the 4 vice presidential candidates gathered at the Consul General's residence, organized by the American Business Council, to give us a sense of what they were going to do if and when they came into power. And I recall that the vice president, His Excellency, talked about 2 major things, which is really, among others, boosting the digital economy, and also driving private sector capital into Nigeria. And we took that very seriously. And because as I worked in here, I saw that wherever Nigeria goes, there Africa grows. We cannot take the country for granted as private investors. And we from the American Business Council recognize that. And by the way, the American Business Council is the American Chamber of Commerce. It is the affiliate of the U.S. Chamber in D.C. And the U.S. Chamber constitutes like 3 million chambers across the world. And so currently we have close to 90 members who are members. And we stretch out our hands to different stakeholders, including the Eurocham and a couple of others, to make sure that we get things going. So back to the conversation. So we had this meeting, and after that we are like, okay, let's see how we can follow up. But just as companies were reacting to the challenges of the time, as the president mentioned, the vice president mentioned, we had issues of the challenges of CBN and all. the foreign exchange repatriation, and then now she's back, so I'm able to share what happened afterwards, because I like storytelling, but it's going to still be 5 minutes. So in January, when we started noticing the challenges that companies were facing, the Ministry of Trade, Investment and Industry reached out, and we decided that we're going to have this meeting to share what critical issues were being faced by US companies. What are those 3 major issues that can make us leave, 3 issues that can make us stay? And we were able to identify these key issues, and with a plan to move forward and to have further conversation. So this roundtable is not just popping out of the blue. It is a string of coordinated events, to look at, okay, this is where we are. We have identified what our challenges are. This is how we are going to move forward to get things done. And tying that, we had an executive roundtable with the president in DC with the U.S. Chamber, and I'm happy that the honorable ministers, the 2 honorable ministers, were also at this event. And again, at that event, the president reiterated the importance of engaging private sector. And one thing I can say, take everything away, is that this is a government that listens. And so we're happy that we're here today, because we're hoping that, as we move forward and we work together in terms of looking at the challenges and the opportunities, we're able to resolve issues. Because whatever it is, Nigeria is a critical country to work with. I know that the US Vice President said in 2050, 6 out of everyone you meet on earth will be Africans. And I say, in that 2050, 24 people you meet on earth by 2050 will be Nigerians. Nigeria is an important economy that we have to work with to make sure that things happen, and that's why we're here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Margaret, the CEO and Executive Secretary of the American Business Council. So we're moving to what I call the meat of this meeting. And we'll be having a panel of conversations. And we have 5 government agencies that will be speaking during this panel. We have NIPC, we have Immigration, then we have MPA, we have PBEC, and of course, Customs. Can we identify them, please? Can you please identify yourselves? Okay, all right. I think where you are is fine, if we can, just so that we can save time. And it's great that you are all sitting together. So I think we should start this panel. If you please just want to say your opening comment, 1 minute, 2 minutes, then I will take some questions. Some questions. And then after that, we will take questions and answers from the business leaders that are gathered here. So first and foremost, your opening comment, please. NIPC, Immigration in that order, MPA, PBEC, and of course, Customs. So if you take that a minute each, please, and then I will follow up with the questions that I have here for you. Thank you so much.
My name is Victoria Aigbedion. I'm representing the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. I'm a Deputy Director in the Department of Investment Promotion. So my Executive Secretary, Ms. Aisha Rimi, is unavoidably absent. She came in earlier, but she had to leave to attend another event. Thank you. So I will first start with what NIPC does. NIPC was established by an act of 1995 to encourage, promote, and coordinate investment in Nigeria. And then in our act, we have about 13 functions, which has been compressed into 4 principal functions, which is to position Nigeria as the investment haven, and then to also identify sector opportunities and promote them to investors. We also carry out policy advocacy and do investment facilitation. So with regards to the topic in question, NIPC is doing a lot with other agencies to see how, because we realize that one thing is to bring in investment, but it's most important to retain those investments in the country. So we are working with sector agencies on how that can be done. And then as it were, we have initiatives we have put in place to assist not just only investors coming in, but to also assist existing investors. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Representative of Immigration.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kemi Nanda, and I am the Controller General of Nigerian Immigration Service. Nigerian Immigration Service is the agency charged with the critical role of protecting our borders. What we do basically is border control, border governance, and of course migration management. And we derive our mandate from the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and also from the Immigration Act of 2015. With regards to this dialogue today, Nigerian Immigration Service has been very, very mindful of the fact that the ease of doing business is one of the critical agendas of this administration. And in doing that, we have streamlined all our processes in terms of visa processes, in terms of residency processes. We've also made sure that the borders are seamlessly in terms of protection and in terms of accessibility. And of course, monitoring and control to ensure that there's transparency and accountability. So these are the three key pillars where we have tried to make sure that we're in compliance with PEBEC and also in terms of the ease of doing business in Nigeria. But I'll leave the main, talk to when we start, the talk proper. Thank you.
J. Tumobi, Senior Special Assistant to the President on PEBEC and Investments, and also the Chief Operating Officer of the PEBEC Secretariat. So I'll just start by sharing a bit about what PEBEC is. PEBEC is the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, and essentially it's the part of government that co-designs along with MDAs critical ease of doing business reforms, drive them, support the implementation of those reforms, and then track them on an ongoing basis afterwards. PEBEC has existed since 2016. Over the course of our lifespan, of our journey, we've helped implement over 180 plus reforms. Of course, over the years, some have been sustained, some have rolled back. That's the constant battle that we continue to address. And this is the third cohort of PEBEC. And I guess it also signals the seriousness of this administration to really addressing ease of doing business concerns, keeping entirely the institution itself. Now, the council is chaired by His Excellency the Vice President and has other senior government officials on there as members. We have 17 cabinet ministers on there, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the Head of Service, Governor of the Central Bank. Once again, signaling the seriousness of this administration to addressing major ease of doing business concerns. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Opening statement, please, MPA.
My name is Sylvester Egede, Nigerian Ports Authority. I represent the MD, Mr. Mohamed Bello Koko. I'm the port manager, Tinkan Island Port. Nigerian Ports Authority is for trade facilitation. And in doing this, we are regarded as gateway to the Nigerian economy. We facilitate import and export. And for now, we have done a lot to improve the port performance and efficiency. We have increased the vessel turnaround time, the wait time of vessels, dwell time of cargo, and of course improved trade facilitation by ease of doing business in collaboration with other agencies in the ports, especially customs, immigrations, and others. I will leave for now until questions come in. Thank you.
Thank you. On the final, definitely not the list, customs list. Opening statement. Is there anyone from customs? Okay. If there's none, we move to the questions proper. So my first question to the representative of the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission are there specific support programs that NIPC provides to companies that are interested in expanding their investment in Nigeria? So these are companies that already have investment and they are now thinking of expanding. Are there specific programs that you have, and how does this ensure that the protection of those foreign investors' assets? If you take that, please, can we stick to answer about 90 minutes to 120 seconds, please? Sorry, 90 seconds to 120 seconds. No, 90 minutes.
Thank you. I think this is too loud. So with what you just asked, I see two questions in there. To assist and provide support services to existing investors, and then the protection of those investors in Nigeria. So we have this Pioneer Status Incentive, which is a relief from corporate income tax, so which is given for 3 years and then extended for another 1 year or 2 years, depending. This tax incentive, which is a tax holiday, is to assist existing investors to actually diversify and expand their businesses. For example, you already have an existing investment and you want to diversify that investment. In line with the product list of Pioneer Status Incentive, you can apply for the tax holiday, which assists you to go through the teething period while you're doing business. We also provide sector fact sheet information, because we also identify that to be able to assist these investors, they need information, so they don't just go about not knowing what to do. Because I looked at this survey and I can see that some people have issues with regards to who do we deal with, which of the agencies do we work with. So we put up those information fact sheets on our websites, and then we also disseminate them to embassies as the case may be. With regards to protection of those investments, in the NIPC's Act, Section 24, 25, 26 has made provisions that your investments will not be expropriated nor nationalized as long as it's not within the negative list. Then the NIPC Act protects your investment. But in a situation where there are issues, adequate compensations are made, or you can. So what we're also trying to do is to reduce the issues of people going to arbitration. So we intend for them to exhaust the local remedies. In also doing that, we established the one-stop investment center. We realized that we need to reduce the cost of doing business, so everybody is in one place. So we have 27 relevant government agencies that deal with those things. Then in line with that, we established the OSIC Lab, which is to help investors who have challenges. So we bring the MDAs where they have those specific challenges together to see how we can solve those issues. Thank you. I hope I answered the questions.
Yeah, I believe so. Thank you so very much. So I'll follow up with a question to Nigerian immigration. Obviously, immigration is a very critical part especially for foreign investment. It's the first port of your first port of content, actually, when they want to come in. So are there any dedicated support services that you offer to assist foreign investors with visa and, of course, work permit applications throughout the investment process? Because obviously they do come. So Nigeria immigration, visa and work permit applications throughout the investment process.
Thank you very much for that question. For us at NIS, critical and priority for us is information dissemination. So on our website, it's clearly stated. We have a very, friendly website that's very clear in terms of procedure, processes, the timeline, the cost implication, and also a complaint window if you have any complaints or issues. And also this is updated regularly, and also we have our visa policy, which is presently being reviewed. But the classes of visas we have has been updated. We used to have 6 classes, now we have over 79 classes. So what this does, it caters for all all areas of interest of foreigners. And we also have a situation where, our embassies in the missions and outside the countries, they all have the information. They have friendly windows where investors can go and apply. And the process is very simple, very seamless. We have automated all the systems so that it's very easy. And we also have the visa on arrival. This is also a category of visa for high net worth individuals. And we've expanded the categories of people who are, able to apply for these visas. We've now included carriers or holders of US and UK passports, and also, of course, of the African Union as well. If you're a member of the African Union, you're eligible for the visa on arrival. And also individuals that hold valid and used UK visas or US visas or Schengen visas. So these are new innovations we've done to make sure that we include as much as possible a lot of people and make it very friendly, very easy for people to access the visa, because usually that's the problem. People complain that, oh, it's cumbersome, it's difficult. But presently now we've made it as seamless as possible. We've automated all our processes. All you do is go online, and we have an automated pre-approval for the visa on arrival. So all you do is just key in all your details. If you have a visa, if you have a valid visa from the US or UK or Schengen, you impute it, and that gives you an automatic pre-approval. So you don't need to wait. So, I mean, timeline, we're talking probably sometimes 24 hours, maximum 48 hours. So that has done a lot of improvement in what we initially had. We also have, of course, the multiple business visa for individuals who come in frequently, because there was an issue on Twitter one time when someone was complaining. So we have the multiple visa, business visa entry that is optional for you to apply for. Of course, we also have we have visas that are, e-visas, where you just apply and it's automatically sent to we give you a scan, a QR code, and with that you're good to board, or you can come into the country, of course, after you must have made payment, of course. And we also have issues where our borders are also well protected, and we want to give an atmosphere where the investors are comfortable to come into the country and know that they're in a safe environment, because that's also key for the investors to know that they're coming into a safe country. For that, we have, of course, our e-visa, e-border solutions, which I don't think I want to elaborate here, but it has also, what that has done has ensured that our borders are well secured and they're protected 24/7. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer. I will now go to the representative of the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, that's PBEC. The question I have for you is that, you are in charge of delivering Nigeria's business environment reforms, as you have said in your opening statement. And of course, you always also have the mandate to remove bureaucratic and legislative constraints to doing business in Nigeria. My question then is, what are the significant achievements of PBEC, and how has this affected the business environment for foreign direct investors since 2016? You may want to highlight 1 or 2, 3 things so that, especially for those that have not taken advantage of it, so that they can do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, like I mentioned in my comments, we've achieved 180 plus different reforms. So it's quite a large number of reforms to speak to. But I think the more important thing is to note how we work. It's the realization that reforms are never done. It's an ongoing journey. And so 180 plus may not necessarily be an impressive feat just yet, because we do exist in a climate where significant reforms are still required. So let me speak to the body of work that we're doing today. So PBEC's work is divided across 5 key work streams. The first is our regulatory technology and innovation work stream, which is primarily focused on federal agencies. We work with over 53 agencies at the federal level, essentially helping to drive ease of doing business reforms, or things that address bottlenecks that businesses face on the regulatory landscape. The second work stream is our legislative and judicial work stream, where we're helping to address the legislative basis for those bottlenecks. So for instance, you might have an agency that was set up in 1970, and the Enabling Act for that agency has some hard-coded elements into the law that removes flexibility. Part of our work as PEBEC is pushing a large omnibus bill that helps to update these laws on an ongoing basis. We concluded a large push last year and are currently in the middle of a second omnibus bill. All the feedback that goes into this bill is typically coming from private sector. So a lot of the ways we look at problems and define problems is as communicated by the private sector. It's a very large and collaborative process. The third work stream is our sub-national work stream, where we're looking at the same reforms that have been achieved at the federal level and looking to cascade those to the state level. So for instance, in 2023 rather, the Business Facilitation Act was signed into law by the former president. This is a landmark piece of legislation that provides much higher levels of transparency and efficiency directives for federal agencies. The work we're doing at the subnational level is supporting states to essentially domesticate that for the state. So you have a certain level of transparency at federal, with federal MDAs. You have a similar level of transparency with state MDAs. The fourth work stream is our newest work stream, which is a PEBEC Business Champions program. If you look at what certain economies have done in the past, right, really identifying flag bearers of their economies such as South Korea, Indonesia, Japan, but we're doing that in Nigeria now, where we've identified some of the largest companies that generate over $1 billion in revenue every year, and we're saying that these are the flag bearers of the Nigerian economy, right? Let's try to remove as much as possible the regulatory bottlenecks that they experience. And of course, we're cascading that down the chain. It's not just the biggest companies, we continue to go down the chain. And the last work stream is our stakeholder engagement and strategic communications work stream. If you do all this work, and you don't tell the story, it's almost as though you're blinking in the dark. And that's just to give a sense of the body of work that we continue to drive at the PEBEC Secretariat. I'll speak to one particular program that we just concluded that I think the private sector should be very excited about and investors should be very excited about. We just concluded our 90-day regulatory reform accelerator, where we pushed across 36 agencies at the federal level. We pushed the implementation of 24 different ease of doing business reforms, trying to achieve things across 8 major indicators. And these reforms were tied to specific feedback that we were getting from private sector. For instance, around opaqueness of regulatory assessments, driving the implementation of the transparency directives of the Business Facilitation Act, around port congestion, working with MPA to forward streamline the experience when exporting out of the country. 180 plus is a lot to speak to. I hope I've been able to share some very specific things that we've done over the years. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so very much. I'll now go to Nigerian Ports Authority, the representative, and I'll take this question, please. Are there specific modernization initiatives to improve port infrastructure, terminal operations, and overall cargo handling efficiency? I don't know if you got that, sir. So, specific modernization initiatives to improve port infrastructure, terminal operations.
You lumped it together. I'm going to separate it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Port efficiency and port performance, they are similar, but they're related. Port efficiency speaks about, it's a multi-dimensional concept that explains port operations. And in port operations, you talk about cargo dwell time, vessel dwell time. Yes, we have put specific things in place. I want to speak particularly to this survey report, operational challenges, where they said port congestion. I want to state categorically here that the ports are not congested. We have put a lot of measures in place where we have seamless operations on the port. We have the ETO system that calls up trucks into the ports. We have also the EPTs, the export processing terminals, whereby your all export products go through the EPTs. It's a one-stop shop where you process, consolidate your cargo, especially agro products for export. And right now, I want to tell you, we have made substantial increase in export of our agricultural products. In a week, we do like 5,000 TEUs in both ports, Lagos and Tinkan Island Port Complex. And then talking about dwell time, vessel dwell time, for dwell time is the time for a waiting vessel to come into the port is 0. If a vessel approaches the channels, the vessel comes into the port. And then for turnaround time of vessels, it's 48 hours for container vessels. We're trying to reduce it to 36 hours, between 36 and 48 hours for container vessels. That's the turnaround time for vessels. And then talking about port infrastructure, we have a consortium, High-Tech and IBTC. They're already working on the reconstruction and rehabilitation of the ports.
Thank you so very much. So thank you all for those questions. I mean, those are very, very enlightening answers that you have provided. In order to strengthen the conversation, so we'll move to questions and answers, because the understanding obviously is that some of the answers that you have provided may not be as specific as these business leaders will like it. So we'll move to question and answer. So it's a question and answer question. So we have those that will be taking. Yes. Just questions. Okay, that's fine. So we'll take just questions. So we are talking, business leaders will give us their questions now. I have 4 here. We may be able to take more, but I have at least the first 4 here. So the first person that will ask question is Mrs. Noye Ujam, sorry. I apologize if I didn't pronounce that name properly. Of Microsoft, Mrs. Noye Ujam, please, where is she? So we can get the mic. Okay, please, your question, please, Mrs. Noyonja of Microsoft. And after, I will take Mrs. Nwamaka or Yemilukwe, that's Coca-Cola. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Good morning, and thank you very much to the organizers of this event. Permit me to stand on existing protocols. Besides being at Microsoft, I also head the ICT committee at the American Business Council. And we've been having ongoing conversations around ease of doing business and policy reforms that are necessary for accelerating digital transformation in the country. We see that the slow rate of adoption of technology is very prohibitive to the way customers and consumers of technology are able to do business. And it will be interesting to note what the government's plan is to trigger policy reforms in that regard. If we could identify some of the areas where we see these challenges, primarily around how consumers are able to quickly adopt transformational technologies, emerging technologies, so that we're not inadvertently excluded from the opportunities that technological advancement creates for the country, and also so that we can begin to see an accelerated process in the way people can create solutions, access to markets, and the like. We would also be asking what the government is doing around data governance, because we see this as a challenge in the way data sovereignty or digital sovereignty is viewed. So what is the government's plan to provide clarity so that beyond the regulatory blockers, if any, there are also no perception blockers, and people are very clear on how they can quickly accelerate through digital transformation. One last submission that I would be putting forward is how government is taking leadership in adopting technology, because this then positions government as the first, well, maybe not the first partaker of it, but at least demonstrates that technology is indeed necessary to the way business or government operations are conducted. And this then signals to the community at large that indeed technology is part of the way government is thinking about not just the policy reforms, but operational reforms. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Nwamaka, Onyemelukwe, Coca-Cola, please.
Good morning, everyone. So apart from, I work for Coca-Cola, I also chair the American Business Consumer segment. and really speaking from the perspective of the sector, the consumer businesses in American Business Council. So my question, and I will speak to practical issues in terms of some of the things that are overburdening the consumer segment of the American Business Councils. So first is that for NIPC, I appreciate the processes you have to protect existing investors and some of the things you highlighted. Interestingly, the OSIC process have been adopted or used by some of our members, and the verdict was not accepted by Nigerian Customs. And the problem, we have a 5-year running issue that had passed through the OSIC process, 6 various interventions of the government agencies, and today it's over 5 years and the dispute still persists. It's a problem and a challenge, and it's part of the issues, I would say, when you engage the private sector that continue to overburden the existing investors that are in the country. And I would really like to understand how those kind of processes will not have post 5 years issues that are unresolved for investors in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Another area, sorry, I'm so sorry. Another area is we've also seen overlapping, I know we've discussed it with PEBEC and different platforms as well, overlapping issues where a particular regulator approves a particular product and another regulator queries. And most times we are really wondering why the second regulator is not interfacing with the one that had approved it if there is a problem, or rather the private companies are actually the ones that are in the center and drawn in different directions, and sometimes are even penalized or fined based on the fallout of that. So these are some of the clear challenges.
Okay.
And we really would like to, these are part of really things that are overburdening the business sector. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Olayinka Subai of Pfizer.
From my side, I would like to acknowledge first the executive order that the presidency have approved as relates to healthcare in Nigeria. I think is a very, very good move in the right position. And what I would like is the speedy execution and the scope in terms of the therapeutic area that it affects. However, as much as we are focusing on the essential health that we needed, there are innovative molecules that the executive orders will not really cover, and these are critical illnesses, cancer, and that relates to vital organs. And I will expect that government should provide enough support environment for the multinational to operate effectively. Most importantly, increase funding into the national health insurance, where the real reimbursement can be taken care of for those high innovative molecules that is needed for Nigerian patients. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Misola Abudu, National Basketball Association, please.
Stand on all existing protocol. Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask a couple. For giving the opportunity to ask a couple of questions here. Like you mentioned, I'm with the NBA, the National Basketball Association in the US, and it's very interesting in terms of our investment in Africa and in Nigeria in particular. One of the reasons why Nigeria is very important to the NBA, when you think of the history of the NBA, you've had over 120 players of African descent playing the NBA. More than half of those are Nigerians. And it's very interesting that this is coming from a country where we really don't have a properly defined ecosystem for sports. Whereas you find that in the US, your average kid has to learn to start playing basketball at the age of 3 for them to make it to the NBA. Whereas in Nigeria, most of the kids that make it to the NBA don't pick up basketball until the age of 14. And my question is to really understand what the government is doing in terms of really encouraging the development of sports in Nigeria. And when I say that, because you find companies like the NBA, where we're making significant investment in Nigeria to really develop the ecosystem, but what you find is we're overburdened because you don't have tax incentives for other stakeholders within the industry or within the country for them to develop that. So I think that's number one question. And I would say the second question I have, and it's really just understanding what the government is really doing in terms of connecting sports and education. these are two very, very crucial elements in the development. The Excellency said earlier today that the average age in Nigeria is 16 years